What is up, y'all? In this video, we're going to be going over Sarah. And Sarah is a lot of women that I talk to on a day-to-day basis. We're going to go over kind of her current state, and then we're going to straight up make a new plan for her because I think she's going to be relatable to hopefully a lot of people that watch this video, and we'll be able to implement a lot of Sarah's new plan and hopefully, get some good results. So, let's break down what Sarah is currently doing. So currently, Sarah goes to CrossFit class 4 to 5 days a week. She's currently 20 pounds overweight, so she's about 170 pounds. She's trying to get down to 150 pounds. So losing 20 pounds of body fat and making sure she's maintaining her muscle mass so that overall body composition is getting improved. We don't want to lose muscle mass and lose body fat at the same time, or at least that's the goal. So lose 20 pounds of body fat specifically, so be around that 150 range. She has really low energy in workout. So she gets up, she, goes to class 4 to 5 days a week, but just feels like, maybe 5 minutes into a 20-minute AMRAP, her energy is kind of low. She has some stubborn belly fat that she can't seem to get rid of no matter what she does. Just has that kind of like stubborn belly fat that I think a lot of women deal with and at least talk to me about and just feel like no matter how many toes to bar or sit-ups that they do, it's not impacting their belly fat because a lot of it is nutrition related. She is stuck with the same strength number, so she hasn't hit a PR in over a year in any lift. All of her lifts are remaining the same, even maybe going down a bit. So definitely not getting stronger, even though she's, going to CrossFit 4 to 5 days per week. She is eating around 1,200 calories or so for the last year and a half. So for a long time, she's been in this let's call it 1,100 to 1,300 calorie deficit. And so she's just like, okay, well, this is what I have to do to lose body fat. So she's been kind of stuck here. She does an hour of walking on the treadmill on Saturdays and Sundays to, in her eyes at least, help her lose the body fat that she's hoping to lose by getting extra cardio sessions in. And then lastly, she feels that she is pretty healthy, that she eats pretty healthy throughout the week and the weekend, but she really isn't seeing any big changes in her body composition no matter what she does, right? So just a bit, she's going to CrossFit, she's working hard on workouts, she's trying as hard as she can with the strength, that's not really going anywhere, and her body comp is just kind of stuck. And, in her eyes, she's in this, calorie deficit, she's eating pretty healthy, but really isn't saying what she wants to be saying on the body composition side of things and hasn't been able to lose this 20-ish pounds, we'll call it. Right. So the very first thing, right, if Sarah came to me, the very first thing that I would implement with her is, we'll kind of pull these back one at a time, is to we'll basically work our way up into eating about 1,800 to 2,000 calories per day, right? Because if she's been in this 1,100 to 1,300 calorie range for this long of a time, guys, your body is not meant to be in a caloric deficit forever. We shouldn't just live in a caloric deficit just for the end of time. That's just not that's not the goal. And it's also just not how your body efficiently loses body fat. So we would go up to progressively go up to 1,800 to 2,000 calories per day, focus on higher protein intake, right? So we're actually supporting some skeletal muscle growth. And then the goal is for her to be getting within a range or trying to get close to 150 grams of protein per day using lean protein sources, right? So this isn't with brisket or bacon, right? This is with foods that are really high in protein and lower on the carbohydrate and fat content. And so 150 grams, why do we want to get close to that? Because that is her goal weight, right? So if you are like Sarah, you're 170 pounds and your goal is to get to 150, right? You want to lose 20 pounds of body fat. You should be getting, you've probably heard 1 pound per gram of body weight. It's per ideal body weight, right? So for your goal weight. So 150 is what we're going for there. And it's going to be getting within a range, right? I'm sure if you followed along my Instagram at all, I'm a huge proponent of getting within ranges of your protein, carbs, fats, and calories with whole foods on a consistent basis, having a plan and structure around that makes sense for your lifestyle and goals. That's how we see the changes that we want to see. If you're a regular Joe like me and like Sarah that go to CrossFit, 4 to 6 days a week, 3 to 6 days a week, whatever it is, however it fits in your schedule and your life, and you want to, be lean, see your abs for the first time, hit PRs in the gym, feel awesome, keep up with your kids, this is what the very first thing that I would do to get us a step closer to that. The next thing that we would focus on after kind of building up progressively to that 1,800 to 2,000 calorie range and the prioritizing her protein intake is going to be focusing on just more whole foods in general versus the high protein marketing. Sometimes I feel like it's just like me versus all the high protein marketing BS out there. It's honestly amazing, guys. Like there are so many foods, and I say foods, they're more like think like protein bars, protein cupcakes, protein cookies, protein like X, Y, and Z, like protein fill in the blank of delicious food, protein waffles. Don't get me wrong. Is that better? Better because it has more protein in it than regular waffles, than regular cookies. Sure. Like no argument there, right? No argument that it tastes awesome. Sure, love it. However, on a consistent basis, I don't love anyone, especially anyone that's working with me, that is going to eat or get their protein in with those processed foods or those processed sources, right? We want to be getting in as much whole foods as possible, right? We're going to get in way more micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals that way. You're going to be able to eat way more volume of food, right? We want to think about maximizing your bites, right? So thinking about eating whole foods, less of that processed stuff, additives and preservatives and oils and all the stuff that comes with it, right? So our focus is going to be getting in as much whole food as we can versus the high protein marketing. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not saying that like you can never have a protein bar and lose fat. I'm not saying you can never have, high protein, cookies and muffins and like etc. and lose fat. I'm just talking about the ratios, right? It's always a dial, not a switch. I'm not saying you can never have blank. I'm just saying I would rather you have more real food protein sources than the high protein waffle, right? Like that's all I'm saying. Moving on. So next, we're going to focus on her recovery, right? So she's training quite a bit, right? Even on her off days, she is, doing an hour on the treadmill, which we'll kind of get to, but focusing on more recovery. So 8+ hours of sleep, right? Every single night. Like sleep is going to be a big, big focus for us. And then having 1 to 2 rest days per week, right? Maybe this might like throw you guys off and just think, a lot of people think that the more the better when it comes to training. But if you are training so much, like Sarah's doing, where she's just kind of like overtraining and underfueling, essentially, you're putting your body in a state that is going to undoubtedly be increased in cortisol, and cueing your body to be burning muscle mass and storing fat. Right. So we obviously don't want to be in that state. So focusing on recovery for her is going to be key. So we're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about rest, obviously get into some mobility protocols and things like that so that she, can still improve her health without feeling like she just needs to like do an hour of cardio. Moving on. She is going to incorporate, let me drop this down, incorporate an hour or one day, excuse me, or an hour of functional bodybuilding per week. Right. So if you're going to CrossFit 45 days a week, I absolutely love it. I've been doing CrossFit for 11 years. However, I would like for more people, especially if they have like body composition goals that they're really chasing, to do more bodybuilding exercises, right? Like more single joint exercises. Think dumbbell hammer curls. Think dumbbell incline press, banded tricep push downs, right? Like more of those movements. And there's really two ways that you can do this like really effectively. Number one is that you can just do, 5 to 15 minutes of these types of movements after class, right? So do your class so like you're fresh for class and you can hit that hard, hit your like compound lifts, your deadlifts, your snatches, your clean and jerks, right? The bigger lifts with the barbell, and use this like 5 to 15 minutes after class as your accessory work, right? So doing more functional bodybuilding is so huge, and a lot of CrossFitters especially, we don't have time a lot to do that in class. If you're going through the brief, the warm up, the strength, the workout, right, and all the transition times and a cool down or a finisher at the end, that's a lot. And so maybe we get to some bodybuilding at the end, but likely not. So implementing 1 day or 1 hour per week, and that could be after classes or just 1 day, substituting instead of a class, you throw this in of some functional bodybuilding, right? And this doesn't need to be at like a Globo gym. You could totally use equipment at your CrossFit gym. Hopefully, there's some open gym hours where you're able to do that, or open gym space, you're able to do that. But definitely something I would implement for Sarah here. Okay. So the last thing here would be focusing on more mindful eating habits to improve digestion and just improve consistency, right? Like a lot of people think that it comes to me all the time. It literally happens all the time. Like I'm eating pretty healthy. I'm like, okay. And then, they sign up and really dig into what they're eating. And I like in the onboarding process, I'm going through and making their plan. And I'm just like, no, like I do not see the like eating healthy. So you can think you're eating healthy, and it not necessarily be that way because there's so many, foods and, snacks out there that are marketed as health foods, but really aren't, right? For instance, I just saw a protein bar yesterday, that was claiming to be this like high protein bar. I think it was like by Kind, I'm not really sure, but this high protein bar, and it had like 12 grams of protein and like 17 grams of fat. Like guys, if it has more fat than it has protein, like even if it says high protein, like don't buy it, right? Like that's just a good like rule of thumb there. And so a lot of people think that they're eating healthy and then they're stuck, when they're incorporating a lot of those foods that actually have a lot of fat and carbohydrates. And yes, even though they have some additional protein, it's still not what we want to be eating on a consistent basis. And so in mindful eating, that doesn't just go for like, grabbing things like that and, thinking that you're eating healthy. It's also just making sure that you're slowing down when you're eating your meals, right? Like being very like slow and mindful and enjoying your food, right? Every couple of bites, grabbing a glass of water, right? Like drinking water every 2 to 3 bites, setting down your utensil, trying to minimize screens in eating. A lot of people just like sit down with their plate and just like shovel food in, like it's gonna go somewhere, right? Just like slowing down is such a huge part of this. And also, you would be shocked at how much mindfulness when it comes to like grazing throughout the day makes such a huge difference. You guys have no idea how many people are like, no, I eat like really healthy and everything's really good. And they're like, okay, like what about like just throughout the day? Just stacking. Like, oh, well, I grab this when I'm making dinner. I like to have a snack when I make lunch. I finish my kid's sandwich because, he only eats half of it and I don't want to waste it, right? Like all of those things like add up, right? They really add up. And so that would be another huge thing of like really implementing some mindful eating practices. So that is kind of like the first things that I would do with Sarah immediately. If you are kind of like Sarah and you feel stuck, you don't really know what's going on, you're trying to do all the right things, you're like, saving recipes on Instagram and you're like trying to follow, advice from TikTok influencers and you just don't know what to do. You need a game plan, and you need someone in your corner that's going to be with you every step of the way. Then there will be a link down below this video where you can book in a call to talk with me. We'll go over where you're at, what that looks like, kind of like Sarah here, where you want to be, and then why this gap is happening in the middle. Ultimately, see if I can help, see if we're a good fit, walk through what coaching looks like from there. So if you're interested in that, then click the link below, and I will see you in the next video.